So here we're in the garden with Stephen.
Garden of Eden. Lights, camera, action.
Garden of Stephen. In the Garden of
We were just
Stephen.
talking a little bit about poetry, and before we did a little bit of Emily Dickinson. We're doing a little bit of Robert Service,
That was really funny.
the cremation of Sam McGee. That's a good one, and a lot of unknown, known, famous, infamous poets and poetry that uh, selected works that I like to do anyway, less known. How about it? Well, there's always Shakespeare. There's always Shakespeare. Everyone knows Shakespeare. Now I might do it, Pat. Now he is praying. Now I will do, and so he goes to heaven. So now I am revenged, and that would be scanned. The villain kills my father, and for that his sole son to send the same villain to heaven. 'Tis higher in salary, not revenge. He took my father grossly, full of bread, with all his crimes, broad blown as flush as May. And who knows his I have trouble with that one. I don't know why. He took my father grossly, full of bread, with all his crimes, broad blown as flush as May. And how his audit stands, who knows save heaven, but in our circumstances, in course of thought, 'tis heavy with him. Am I now revenged to take him in the purging of his soul while he is fit and seizes for his passage? No. Up sword now, and know a more horrid hint. And when he is drunk, asleep in his rage, or the incestuous pleasure of his bed, at games of swearing, or about some other act that has no relish of salvation in't, then trip him, that his heels kick back to heaven, and his soul be damned, and black as hell where to it goes. My mother stays. This physic but prolongs thy sickly days. Good old Hamlet. And for Hamlet, the trifling of his favor holdeth a fashion or a toy in blood, a violet in the youth of primy nature forward, not permanent, sweet, not lasting, the perfume and suppliance of a minute no more. Fear it not so, Ophelia, for nature crescent does not grow alone in thews and bulk, but as the temple waxes, the inward passage of mind and soul grows wide withal. Now he may love you now, nor soil nor coddle doth besmirch the virtue of his will, but you must fear his greatness way, that his will is not his own, and he himself is subject to his birth. For he may not carve as unvalued persons do, for upon his choice depends the health and safety of this entire state. Therefore his choice must be circumscribed upon the yielding of that body, whereof he is breathed the head. Now if he says he loves you now, and it fits your wisdom so far to believe it, as he in his particular act gives his saying deed, which is no further than the main voice of Denmark goes withal, then you must fear the loss your honor may sustain, if you with too credent ear list his songs, or lose your heart, or your chaste treasure open to his unmastered importunity. Fear it. Fear it, my dear Ophelia, and keep you to the rear of your affection out of shot and danger of desire. The cherished of maid is prodigal enough if she unmasks her beauty to the moon. And virtue itself scapes not calumnious strokes. The canker galls the infants of spring too soon before their buttons be displayed. In the morn, in the liquid dew of youth, contagious blasphements are imminent. Be wary then. Best safety lies in fear. Youth to itself rebels, though no one else near. Good old Shakespeare. I like him. He's a good man. Some thought he was an insane lunatic. He just liked to drink and carouse and write crazy words. Well, I guess that's the definition of one man's definition of a genius.
Works for you.
Oh, all you host of heaven and earth, what else shall I couple? Hell, oh, fie, hold my heart. And you, my sinews, grow not instant old, but bear me stiffly up. Oh, thy poor ghost, while memory holds a seat within his distracted globe. Remember thee, yea, from the table of my memory I'll wipe away all fond and trivial reports. All saws of books and all forms and pressures past that youth and observation studied there. And thy commandment alone will live in the book and volume of my brain, unmixed with baser matters. Yes, by heaven, O pernicious woman, villain, villain, smiling damn villain. My table's meat it is, and I set it down that one may smile and smile to be a villain. So there you are, my uncle. Now to my word. 'Tis adieu, and remember me. I have sworn't. That's the famous line of Hamlet when his ghost, father's ghost, disappeared on him when he said, "Remember me." Good old Hamlet. Good old Hamlet.
What's your favorite Shakespeare character?
Probably Hamlet. I guess probably Hamlet, because he's so, he's a little bit complicated, and he's kind of so indecisive. Not like somebody like Richard III or Macbeth. They have a course of action, and they just seem to do it without conscience, and without consequences. Richard III, of course, one of the most villainous of the villains, if you will, along with Macbeth. Richard III, has ever woman in this humor been wooed? Has ever woman in this humor been won? I'll have her, but I won't keep her long. What, that I murdered her husband and his father, and took her in her heart's extremest hate, with curses in her mouth and tears in her eyes, the bitter witness of hatred by, and with conscience and God and all these bars against me, I had nothing to back up my suit but the plain devil and dissembling looks. And yet, to win her, all the world to nothing. Has she forgot already, Edward, that brave prince whom I some 3 months since stabbed in my angry mood in Tewkesbury? Oh, a sweeter and lovelier gentleman, framed in the prodigality of nature, who, valiant and wise, and no doubt right royal, this current world cannot again afford. And again she will debase her eyes on me, who cropped the prime of this sweet prince, and made her a widow to a woeful bed, on me, whose whole is not equal to Edward's moiety, on me, who was halts and is unshapen thus? From dukedom to a beggarly denier, I have mistaken myself all this while upon a life, she says, that I cannot be a marvelous man. And I'll be at charges for a looking glass. I'll entertain a score of 2 of tailors to study fashion and adorn my body. And since I am crept in favor of myself, I shall maintain it with some little cost. But first, I'll turn yon fellow in his grave, and then I'll return lamenting to my love. Shine out, fair sun, till I have bought a glass, that I may see my shadow as I pass. Good old Richard III, huh? What a backstabber that boy was. A real villain. Real villainous villain. Talk about villains, we have a lesser-known villain called Turnus, who is in the ballad or the epic poem Aeneid, is the arch-villain of Aeneas. And of course, Turnus, in the last scene of the part 12, I believe is the last part, book 12, Turnus kills Aeneas' best friend, Pallas. And now Aeneas is about to square off with his archenemy, if you will. And Turnus is a very formidable foe. Turnus is a very dangerous man. He's brave. He's strong. He's skilled at the art of war. But, and in fact, I guess you would call Turnus and Aeneas equal, except for one thing. Turnus does everything for his own good. He uses guile and deception, and he's not heroic. He will stab you in the back. He'll do whatever is necessary to win. He has no rules. Whereas Aeneid is our hero who likes to fight fairly, likes to put his dukes up, if you will, and give the man a chance. Whereas Turnus won't. If he has a chance to cut you at any distance, he will. And that's why Aeneas is the hero, and Turnus is, men like him will always be anti-heroes, or in our case, that I've been talking about, are criminals. And in the last part of the Aeneid, this goes like Virgil, Publius Vergilius Maro, wrote in translation. I hope I can remember all the words. If not, I guess we're all sitting here for nothing. The stern Aeneas waves the weighty spear against his foe, and thus upbraids his fear. What farther subterfuge can Turnus find? What empty hopes are harbored in his mind? 'Tis not with the swiftness that secures thy flight, not with the feet, the hands, the valiant fight. Vary thy shapes in 1,000 forms, and dare with skill and courage to attempt in war. Wish for wings of winds upon the sky, or hid beneath the hollow earth to lie. And the hero shook his head and made this short reply. No threats of thine my manly mind can move. 'Tis hostile heaven I dread, and partial Jove. He said no more, but with a sigh suppressed the mighty sorrow swelling in his breast. And then he rolled his troubled eyes around. An antique stone he saw, the common bound of neighboring fields, and bordered to the ground. So vast that 20 strong men of modern day the enormous weight from earth could barely raise. And he heaved it at a lift, and poised on high ran staggering against the enemy. But so disordered he scarcely knew his way, nor the unwieldy weight he threw. His knocking knees are bent beneath the heavy load. The shivering cold congeals his vital blood. The stone drops from his arms, and falling short for lack of vigor, mocks the vain effort. And when heavy sleep has closed the sight, and sickly fancy labors through the night, we tend to run in destitute of force. Our shrinking arms forsake us in the course. In vain we heave for breath, in vain we cry, and the nerves unbraced their usual strength deny, and on the tongue the faltering accents lie. So Turnus fared, in whatever means employed, the fury flew athwart, and made the endeavor void. 1,000 various thoughts his soul confound. He stared about, nor aid nor issue found. His own men block the pass, and his own walls him surround. Once more he pauses and stares out again, to seek the goddess charioteer in vain. Trembling he views the thundering chief advance, brandishing aloft the deadly lance. Amazed he cowers beneath the conquering foe, forgets to ward, and waits the impending blow. And astonished while he stands, and fixed in fear, aimed at his shield, he sees the impending spear. Now the hero aims with narrow view the intended mark, and rising as he threw, the fatal weapon flew. And not with less rage the rattling thunder falls, nor stones from battering engines break the walls. Swift as a whirlwind from an arm so strong, the lance drove on and bore the death along. Not with sevenfold shield the prince availed, nor aught neath his arms the coat of mail. It pierced through all with a grisly wound, and transfixed his thigh, and doubled him to ground. With groans the Latians rend the vaulted skies. Streams and rivers and valleys to the voice reply. Now low on the ground the lofty chief is laid, with eyes cast upward and arms displayed, and thus recreant to the proud victor prayed. I know my death deserved, nor hope to live, but use what the gods and the good fortunes give. But think, oh think, if mercy be shown, thou hadst the father once, and hadst the son. Pity my sire now sinking to the grave, and for old Anchises' sake, and old Donna save. But if revenge be vowed, and now pursue my death, give to my friends my body void of breath. The Latian chiefs have seen me beg my life. Thine is the conquest, thine is the wife. But against a yielded man, 'tis mean, ignoble strife. And in deep suspense the Trojan seemed to stand. When about to strike, he repressed his hand. He rolled his eyes around, and with every moment felt his manly soul with more compassion melt. And then, casting down a casual glance, he spied the golden belt that glittered at his side, the fatal spoils that Turnus tore from a dying Pallas, and now in triumph wore. Now aroused anew to wrath, he cried. Flames while he spoke came flashing from his eyes. Traitor! Dost thou to grace pretend, clad as thou art in trophies of my friend? To his sad soul a grateful offering go. 'Tis Pallas, Pallas delivers this deadly blow. And he raised his arm aloft, and up to the word, deep into the bosom, he drove the shining sword. The streaming blood disdained his arms around, and the disdainful soul came rushing through the wound. Ooh, a little bit too dramatic there, but I guess when you're in battle, anything goes. And this is battle, baby. This is a real battle. That's the ending. And I think that is a fantastic ending. Not that I wish I could write like that, even translate like that, which would be, they don't write words like that anymore. One word can say so much. One word can say so much. Just one word. Put two together, you've got a life. Wow.
What would be your one word?
Live. Love. Love. That's two words. Live to love or love to live. They both fit. They both fit.
Love to live. Passion.
Now, something else. Virgil, he's good. I like him. He's a great guy.
Okay. I think we'll stop this one and do another one.
I think I'll just do one more. I'm going to do one more for Dante. I want to do a little bit of Dante. A little Dante's Inferno, and we all know the trip that, quite coincidentally, in Dante's Inferno, there was a traveler and his companion. Guess who his companion was, according to Dante? Was Virgil. And Dante was... Now, when that goes out, it's still recording, isn't it?
Yeah, we're still recording it.
But when it goes dark, so I don't have to worry. Why are we lighting it up, just so I can see it?
It's still recording, but I think you lose the picture.
Okay.
So I'm doing that so that we keep the
Are we
picture.
going dark? I guess we're in screen saving mode. When Dante wrote his Inferno, he had as his companion Mr. Virgil, whom he thought was the greatest of all poets. And Dante was no slouch by any means. So if Dante Alighieri can think in high esteem of Virgil, so Virgil must be a pretty decent dude, as they say. Cool dude in modern terms. So now he's going into... Actually, in this part, he's leaving. In the last part, he's leaving. And of course, I'll just say I'll say the few words in Italian, and then try to translate later on. These are when they're on their way up, leaving, actually, the rings of hell. Virgil, and actually, I guess it would be Dante in the guise of his vision of what it would be like. This is just in Italian, some of it. We could talk about it later, on a later date, the translation. Nel metto di cammin di nostra vita mi ritrovai una selva oscura che la diritta via era smarrita. Quante dire qual era e cosa dura esta selva selvaggia ed aspra, che nel pensier rinnova la paura. Tanta mare che poco più morte, ma per trattare del bel che vintrai dirò delle altre cose che vo scorte. Fu il piede d'un colle giunto, là dove terminava quale valle. Guardai in alto e le vidi le sue spalle, vestite già di raggedi piante, che meno alcuna per ogni calle. Fu il paura un po' quieta che nel lago di cor meradurata la notte che posai con tanta pietà. E come que con lena effonata uscito fuori per del lago alla riva si volse all'acqua pericolosa e vuota, così l'animo mio con fuori convolgeva, si volsi a retro a rimorar lo passo, che non lo so già mai persona viva. In vexila regis prodient versi da noi. Dinanzi a me, disse il maestro mio, se tu discerni. È come quando una nebbia spira, quando l'emisferio nostro annota, parvimi vedere un tal edificio all'ota, e poi lo vento mi strinsi retro, che non li era grotta. Quando il paura metto in metro, là dove l'ombre tutt'eran coperte, e transpirien come vestuca in vetro. Altro sono a erte, o sono a giacere. Altro sono altre le piante, altro, e altro comarco col volto ai piedi inverte. E quando noi fummo fatti tanto avanti che il maestro mio mostrarmi la creatura che il bel sembiante, dinanzi a me essa festosi. Ed ecco dicendo, ed ecco il loco, il vol conviene di fortezza di anni. Io divenni allora piacqua, gelato e fioco, non di mondor lettor se non lo scrivo, per ogni parla sarebbe poco. Io non morì, non rimassi vivo. Pensi oggi mai per te che fior d'indegno, qual io divenni, d'uno e d'altro privo. The last part I like. Io non morì e non rimassi vivo. I wasn't alive, but I wasn't dead. Pense oggi mi parte kai fior di ne. Please think of me if you have the flower of ingenuity in your mind, what I had become, qual io divenni, d'uno e d'altro privo. I was bereft of life and death. Well, those are good words. There we go. Cut that one a little bit. We're at 2 of them. And that was, I had to get some of those words out. I sort of mangled a few, but forgive me, Dante, Mr. Alighieri. Your words are precious. And it's funny. One of the words, when Dante and Virgil went down to the final ring, the final rung, if you will. I think it's the 8th. When you know the sign when it goes, all ye who enter abandon hope, and they went down to the last level. And then he met one of his friends. He was a priest or an archduke, and he popped up from the mud and the filth and the slime. And he says, "What are you doing here? Why? What are you doing here?" And the man said, "Io fio gibbetto a me alla mia casa. I turned my house into my very own gallows, and I deserve to be here. Io fio gibbetto a me alla mia casa. I turned my house into my very own gallows." They don't write like that anymore. Wow. And everybody there that he met said they deserved to be there. Nobody was trying to get out. Very interesting situation. All ye who enter, abandon all hope. And that's what they say. When you're alive, you have hope. But when you're gone and you're deceased, you don't know what's going to happen. And you don't know where you're going to end up.
Black hole.
Don't know where we're going to end up. So we want to live it here and try to do something here with our lives. And on that note, I think we'll just leave it. The kids are coming up behind us in the schoolyard, listening to the innocence and the playfulness of youth. And we all must have that. That's one thing.
And the birds.
And the birds.
Mm-hmm.
And the games. A wise man once said, "When you stop playing games, you grow old very quickly. We always want to play games.
Sounds good. Thanks, Stephen.
Bye for now. We'll see you soon.
Bye for now. I can find this stupid thing and shut it down there. Okay.
Click.
That's great. Thanks.